Alright, bet. Yo, chat. We got the Amazon. We got the Amazons, the largest predators. The largest. Hold on. The Amazon's largest predator is one you've never heard of. I had to read that shit like I was, you know. Alright, fuck it. Let's get into it.
Is the Amazon, a sprawling tropical rainforest that stretches across an area twice the size of South Africa, and is home to the largest river on Earth, at least by discharge volume, which has together created a refuge to potentially more than 3 million different species. It's basically a hot, thick soup of life, and in a sense, death, as tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of these species, are ultimately predators, and come in just about every shape and size. And while each is remarkable in their own way, most people think of the head honchos of the Amazon to be just two creatures, the jaguar and anaconda, the latter of which has even gotten its own horror franchise. However, while both are unarguably deadly and huge, neither are the worst predator the Amazon has to offer, nor are they the largest. And actually, they don't even come close, as another carnivore that calls this place home has them beat multiple times over, and it's an animal that most people have never even heard of. Melanosuchus niger. Now, it may look a lot like the more northern American alligator, but in reality, this ain't no gator, instead being a kind of caiman, an aspect nicely reflected by its common nickname, the black caiman, which comes from its dark greenish-black scale coloration, that makes them also quite easy to differentiate from other caiman species. And beyond this, they are still extremely unusual for their kind, as most of its relatives tend to be on the smaller side, whereas it has evolved to become an absolute giant, being the third largest crocodilian in all of the neotropics, and the largest member in the entire croc superfamily,
Like history
Alligatoria,
class, chat.
meaning that it even has the American alligator beat in the size department. But despite its hard-to-miss stature,
Animal
the
Planet
black
shit.
caiman is actually only a recently studied animal, as not much attention was paid to its existence by researchers until the 1980s, when certain scientists started to notice that the adults could be exceptionally massive from time to time, as well as observing that this crocodilian held a never-ending presence in the Amazon, being found in just about every river, swamp, wetland, and lake within the Amazon basin, which also gives it one of the larger ranges known for crocodilian. Now, despite the new interest in them, it was always quite clear that these guys weren't exactly small, with early reports describing an average size between 2.2 and 4 meters, or 7 and 12 feet, while weighing more than a jaguar and just about as much as the largest anacondas. However, due to the sheer difficulty of exploring the dense Amazon rainforest, the existence of massive individuals wasn't recognized until later on, when better technology was developed that allowed for more extensive excursions, which unearthed some startling finds, like the fact that select male individuals of this species could achieve a size greater than 5 meters or over 16 feet, and a weight of roughly 0.8 tons, putting it above the average size of a polar bear, and far heavier than any jaguar or anaconda ever caught, including, by the way, anacondas that crack 20 feet or 6 meters. So yeah, it's pretty gosh darn big. And there's even a good chance that it can grow bigger than this, as even now the Amazon remains vastly unexplored, and anecdotal reports from fishermen and indigenous tribes claim to have encountered black caimans that have surpassed the 6 meters or 20 feet mark, which if were true, would give them a probable weight of 1.2 tons, rendering them the second largest reptile on Earth at this very moment. And while this is anecdotal evidence, many scientists do agree that this species can reach exceptional sizes that have yet to be recorded. And obviously, this size alone has done wonders for it as far as their place in the food chain, making them an undisputed apex predator. But ultimately, it's not just weight that the black caiman has got going for it, as like others of its kind, it also possesses an immensely thick hide, composed of durable alpha and beta keratin mate scales, that provide incredible protection against injuries. And of course, behind every good defense, there is also a good offense, and the black caiman possesses that signature powerful bite that we've come to expect in larger crocodiles. And actually, this caiman's power is
that a
even a bit
hippo?
unusual amongst crocs, as it has a relatively giant and robust skull for its body size, which allows for even the smaller individuals to possess a bite force of over 4,000 newtons, which, just to put that in perspective, is enough to absolutely smash a human femur apart, the strongest bone in our body. And remember, the 4,000 is just for the smaller individuals. And though the bites of the largest adults have never been studied, Some scientists have stated that good-sized adults outbite any American alligators and have enough force to crush virtually anything they get their jaws on, including giant turtles, whose shells they can crack as if they were made of, well, eggshells.
But hold on though.
Including giant turtles, whose and have
Why the saltwater crocodile at the top?
enough force to crush virtually anything they
only
get their
4 minutes
jaws
in,
on,
though.
including giant
Probably got more
turtles,
than covered.
whose
Come on.
shells they can crack as if they were made of, well, eggshells. Although, despite this immense power, the black caiman is still no brute. And really, this genus is much more built like a ninja than its close relatives, with individuals having both an acute sense of hearing and sight, with its eyes in fact being significantly larger than that of other caimans, which it utilizes for its predominantly nighttime hunting activities, where it is known to prey upon not only large animals in the water, but also sometimes animals in the land as well, leading to an extremely diverse and adaptable diet that can be described as opportunistic. And because of this, most of its food ultimately boils down to what's just common in the Amazon, and therefore it includes a variety of fish, small mammals, including various monkeys, sloths, armadillos, and capybaras, as well as larger mammals like deer, tapirs, and peccaries. However, this all being said, as I mentioned, they're not exactly picky eaters, and the only thing holding them back is generally their size. So when they're fully mature, literally anything goes, including animals that are typically regarded as untouchable. For example, porcupines, cougars, river dolphins, and giant river otters, the three latter of which are also known as top predators, and are just a handful of examples of animals that adults have no problem going after. And in fact, even jaguars and anacondas have been witnessed as falling victim to large caimans. And just to further drive this point home, fully grown male caimans are often regarded as just about the only animal that have no natural predators within the Amazon. And actually, their presence itself sometimes seems to have a repellent effect on other predators, as in certain areas, these guys are associated with an absence of large cats, which just goes to show that this reptile sits higher in the food chain than the typical perceived kings of the jungle. And then just to make these guys sound even more terrifying, literally, they are known to consistently produce noises that sound like rumbling thunder throughout the dry season. Which I guess on the bright side would make you at least aware of their presence, if you want to call that a bright side. So with all these factors combined, especially the apex predator part, it sounds like they have a pretty sweet deal, right? Well, it doesn't come without some pain, as this luxury has to be earned, because what I just talked about explicitly applies to adult caimans, whereas hatchlings and even young subadults are frequent targets of predation from a variety of Amazonian predators, including others of their own kind, with cannibalism being a frequent cause of death among black caimans, which leads to extremely high mortality rate in the younglings. And though the adults don't have to worry about the same issues as the young, they still do face their own plights, for they have an unexpected nemesis: mosquitoes. You see, due to their largely nocturnal habits, black caimans have evolved proportionally huge white eyes, and these massive eyes have turned out to be mosquitoes' favorite snack, leading to much of the population experiencing bloodshot eyes. And I don't know about you, but the idea of a giant Amazon mosquito sucking blood straight out of my eyeball doesn't exactly seem fun. I mean,
Say ugly
how are you supposed
bird.
to itch that? Additionally, while adults
What's the
do
word,
not have to
Twin?
worry about becoming meals for anyone, they do still face adversity with the predators they coexist with, seeing that their extremely versatile diets often bring them into
Story time.
conflict and competition with just about every medium to large-sized carnivore in the Amazon, which has been known to lead to fatal fights over food sources. Albeit, with all their defenses and offenses, such deaths are rather rare. But there is also one more unique problem that black caimans have had to endure, despite being the largest predators in the Amazon, and that's humans. Now, I will preface this by saying that pretty much every single animal in the Amazon has experienced a negative.
Stop. Kelsey Plum is 10 out of 10 is getting taken down. Shout out Kelsey Plum. She won me so much money this year. Not only that, boy, she one of the main reasons I watched the WNBA. If you know, you know. Elite ball knowledge. Any day. I'm ready.
Influence of human presence, seeing that 20% of the Amazon has been deforested in the last 50 years alone.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yet,
Check.
for the
You know what I'm saying?
caimans, the threat has gone farther than deforestation, as beginning in the 1950s, great demand emerged for their leather, leading to excessive hunting and a trading industry, which by the 1970s had reduced the black caiman population enough for it to be classified as endangered. Since then, the population has thankfully slowly rebounded after various governments introduced stricter regulation on the trade of its material. And as of now, it's usually considered as near threatened. This being said, its mass hunting did lead to overarching issues that do still remain present. One being that in the absence of large populations, its relative, the smaller spectacled caiman, was able to rapidly expand its own range and numbers, leading to fierce competition between the two. And nowadays, researchers notice that while the spectacled caiman is less dominant on a one-to-one basis to the black caiman, the spectacled caiman is outpacing our larger friend. Which especially makes sense when you consider the fact that black caimans don't even become sexually mature until they're 20 years old. And then just to add fuel to the fire, females only reproduce every 2 to 3 years. And even with the growth of the spectacled caiman, the reduction in the black caiman has caused a few of its own natural prey to skyrocket in number, namely a variety of piranhas, unfortunately, and capybaras, perhaps less unfortunately, which has resulted in the destabilization of certain local ecosystems, while also causing damage to livestock and agriculture. And sadly, one reason why everything has been so slow to get better is the apprehension that many in the Amazon have over the black caiman, as it hasn't exactly garnered a great reputation with indigenous tribes. Now, some do revere it and believe it to have spiritual powers. However, it is one of the few animals in the Amazon that are not afraid to occasionally hunt humans. And given its size, senses, and power, its attack on people are almost always fatal, with case reports often reporting similar clinical profiles to shark attacks, as caiman bites can cause large wounds, major blood loss, and secondary bacterial infections. Typically, the caiman will attack humans by using its camouflage to get into close proximity, before suddenly attacking. And depending on the size of the person, there have even been reports where a person has been swallowed whole, or in other cases, dragged into deep waters in order to be drowned. And while there is no concise statistics on the amount of attacks per year, those who live on the banks of the Amazon often refer to it as a man-eater, with fishermen in particular reporting a very high level of aggression from what is unarguably the largest predator in the region. So understandably, people aren't exactly thrilled with the idea of creating a population boom for these guys. And so this fact, combined with the slow breeding and the growth of the spectacled caiman, leads to a very uncertain future for this king of the jungle. But that being said, considering that crocodilians are perhaps one of the most resilient groups of animals on this planet, having survived not only the KT extinction,
Ain't a lot. This nigga just said the same thing 30 different ways. We get it, nigga.